All right, so I think we'll get started here on time at 2 o'clock Central Time. We want to thank everybody for joining in on our Analytics for Everyone monthly webinar series. We're very excited to present this webinar. The topic we're going to be discussing is conducting a $5 billion merger with Planning Analytics. So just to introduce myself, I am Mitch Dorhout. I work for eCapital Advisors. I am a consultant based out of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And I will let the Safeway team introduce themselves, Ellie and Russell.
Hi, this is Ellie Storino. I'm a Senior Financial Analyst with FP&A for brand Safeway.
Hi, you have Russell Gleisner with brand Safeway as well. Mitch, do you want to go to the next slide, or do you have any further comments?
Yeah, so I'll just do our next slide. So we just want to let you guys know, just a promotion, that we do have some more of these Analytics for Everyone webinars coming up. So here is some of the webinars coming up. So this is our second one this year, and we are very excited to do analytics transformation. I believe Dave Collins will be leading that one. We'll also be talking about financial and operational planning, as well as building a modern data platform. So we're going to try and do that each month. If you need to find these, go to eCapitalAdvisors.com. There will be a link there, and you can see some of the webinars to get signed up. So we will jump on in to the presentation. So I will let Russell kick this off.
Thanks, Mitch. Just to give everyone a background on Safeway Group, our legacy business, where Ellie and I were former employees and now employees of brand Safeway. So Safeway Group was a commercial and industrial supplier of work access and specialty services. Work access includes motorized and scaffolding services, and specialty services would include insulation, paintings, and coatings for, again, both the commercial and industrial markets. We started our business in 1936 as a steel manufacturer, and our one of the founder, Mitch, you mind going back to that? Thank you. The founder actually invented the first steel frame scaffold. This was back in 1936. Fast forward 60 years, and we actually entered the industrial market, and that propelled our services line, and eventually our services surpassed our rental business, and we really turned our focus to the energy industrial market and also to the services market. So that really grew the business and changed our future. So we really look at ourselves as not really a rental business. We're really a service provider, both erecting and dismantling the work access solutions, as well as then providing additional services. In 2009, we were acquired by Odyssey Investment Partners, and that changed our history quite a bit. We brought in a new CEO, CFO, who is our current management team, and we really brought on a number of acquisitions, and these acquisitions pushed us into new markets and into new services that we didn't previously perform. A couple of key system changes that we made. In 2012, we selected Planning Analytics as our consolidation and budgeting tool. The rollout of it was not extremely successful just due to change management, but in 2015 we implemented a new accounting information system, and at that point it really moved acceptance forward because it became our only reporting system, so it was much more widely accepted from that point forward. And then we also utilized it for our merger with brand industrial services. Mitch, if you could go to the next slide here. So this is a quick summary of why brand and Safeway are better together. The left-hand side are our services, our array of services we perform, and what sets us apart and puts us stronger together. And then on the right-hand side, that's an array of utilities and tools we have at our disposal for our customers, from our wide range of people to our wide range of fleet. We definitely are better together. If we turn to the next slide, we'll let Mitch kind of give a background on our relationship with eCapital and how they're supporting and working with us on special projects.
Absolutely. So starting in December of 2016, we were approached to help support Safeway. They went through, lost their Cognos administrator. So eCapital, we came in and basically would help support a sustainable system. So we were just making sure that the system was running correctly, building a couple of reports here and there. Fast forward to February 2017, we were able to implement a monthly rolling forecast, allowing users at the branch level to, support and be able to say, okay, I want to forecast out the next 3 months, and then be able to do comparisons and do that kind of analysis. In March, we did some support services again, so supporting their quarterly forecast as well as their quarterly pipeline. So forecasting down to the branch level, but then pipeline, doing your sales pipeline based on all those different projects they have coming in. In June of 2017, we devised the solutions for the merger, for the purchase accounting merger. That was kind of approached in about a 2-week fashion that we had to close the merger, and we were able to support them. And then throughout the rest of the year, we were supporting their annual operating plan for pipeline processes as well. And then in the final end of the year, we developed some more KPIs. So doing some revenue reporting and fleet reporting, this allowed them to have those details down to the branch level and being able to help, make better decisions and be able to see, how is each branch performing, what product group is doing well, all those widgets. And we'll discuss that a little bit more later on, but just giving a little brief. And so this year, we've been kind of supporting server migration. So we've been migrating the server from Safeway over to Brand. Brand Safeway now is combined, so it's on Brand's environment. And then also we're supporting just doing their annual operating plan as well as pipeline processes as well. So I'll go on to the next page here, and I'll let Russell talk about the functions of what we're doing in Planning Analytics.
Yeah, so just a quick background on kind of the 5 key ways we've utilized the system prior to the merger. We kind of broke this down into, 3 purposes. We have our consolidation, financial reporting, more of a controllership function. We have our closing function, which is our month-end review and close process. And then we have our budgeting, KPIs, analytics side. So from a consolidation standpoint, we leverage the system to do our consolidated GAAP financials on a GAAP adjusted basis, pro forma basis. We kind of can cut it a number of ways, which has been very helpful. And then we also utilize it across our branch network for the branches to perform monthly close processes and review their financial statements. Ellie will talk through some of the KPIs and AOP.
Yeah, as far as operational reporting, so we've been able, as Mitch alluded to earlier, really leverage planning analytics to house our KPIs. And KPIs hold a lot of value for driving business strategy, but they can be at times tricky or challenging to consolidate and to track, as they aren't generally metrics that are pulled straight from a GL or a trial balance, but need to be calculated. So having these KPIs in planning analytics is really helpful to management with tracking the trends and even be able to input budgets for KPIs as part of our annual budgeting process. So we kick off our budget about August of each year and kind of incorporate an 8+4 forecast along with that. We have the branch managers go in and input the P&L data as well as various KPIs for benchmarks. And then the biggest and most complex part really of our budget is our sales pipeline. So this is built up from individual opportunities pulled from our job costing system. So it's thousands and thousands of jobs at that branch level, the individual opportunity level, being rolled up into a probability-weighted and non-probability-weighted pipeline. And this gives us a really good idea of how much we have in our backlog, how much we have in what we call our known prospects, and how much we still need to go and get by the end of the year in order to meet, our management expectations. So all of these cubes interact with each other. We have separate cubes for the pipeline, for budgeting, forecasting, and I'll kind of hand it over to Mitch to talk through these cubes in a little bit more detail and how they work together.
Absolutely. So from the cube structure standpoint, so we use three main consolidation cubes. So the way that with a consolidation, especially with a merger, we want to see, okay, what is my legacy business? Well, how is my legacy business performing? We want to see a consolidation of all of our entities together. And then we also want to do a planning P&L. We want to be able to see those three-tier hierarchies. So we have a lot of entities that have come in, and basically the way that we house them is that we have staging cubes built for each of those entities that we're able to load in all the account level detail, and then we would map them over to the consolidation cube, as well as having your planning cube as well. So we're able to then report on this and be able to see, okay, I want to see how each of my businesses are doing, and being able to see how we're performing as a whole consolidation. As a cube structure for financial reporting cubes, we use a P&L detail analysis. We let them to see different levels of how, okay, I want to go down to the detailed level account. We can see it as a roll-up level at breaking out by their disciplines, and then you can see it by their segments. So that allows the controllership team to be able to analyze and be able to help with their month-end process to help automate the system, make it a lot faster for them. And as Ellie was alluding to, so the pipeline and KPI cubes to support their global FP&A. So as part of the budget, we have a detail cube and a summary cube, but that detail cube stores every single project that she was talking about. That allows those users to then go in and say, hey, there's a couple projects I think we can add to this. This is allowing them to have better traceability and see it from a global level. How is each region, how is each branch performing, and allowing them to help them make better decisions and say, okay, alluding to what Ellie was talking about, those go-gets, what projects do we need to go get? And having that on their list, that really is beneficial for them to be able to report on that. And Ellie will kind of now talk about the users that we have in the system and kind of the array of different roles that they have.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have kind of generally 4 tiers of access with our users. We have around 150 currently utilizing the system. And kind of at your lower level where there's more restriction on the access, we have the branch managers who are responsible for inputting budgets, reviewing their P&Ls, just kind of at that limited 1 branch level or possibly 2 or 3 branches, depending on the region. We also have the operational management, which would be more so of a regional controller or a divisional CFO that can go in and has a bit more access to review regions and different business segments rather than just 1 or 2 branches. Our corporate functional heads also have access to go in and enter in their budgets for their different departments during the year. And then the finance team sees a bit more of the data just so that they're able to work through their month-end close reports and pull in access for accounts that help them kind of close the books, do accruals, deferrals, that kind of a thing at the branch level. So what we really strive to do, though, with our users, we have had numerous acquisitions, throughout the year, and we really strive to bring our users on board as quickly as possible and to get our pro forma financials updated and loaded in the system through the staging cubes as soon as we possibly can, so that we're able to review results at a consolidated basis and the users can go right in the system, and hit the ground running and start reviewing. And as we work through the brand Safeway merger, we've had to bring various people on board to the new company. So we've had to do some trainings and send out a training document as well in order to assist them so that they're more comfortable in the system when they get started.
And we mentioned pro forma a couple times. When we say pro forma, we just mean we're including the acquisition and their P&L detail as if we acquired them 1/1, call it prior year or 3 years prior. So we're basically just including their detail into our P&Ls so that you don't have any organic, inorganic growth. You just see consistent growth year over year. And that just allows us to really evaluate performance year over year and overall business growth. If you could go to the next slide, Mitch, what we'll do is we'll talk through the day one transaction solutions that we came up with and how we ended up with our third solution that we'll go into further details with. So we broke down our transaction process into 3 buckets. And the first one is really based on when the transaction closes and also materiality of the transaction. So if you close a transaction close to the beginning or end of the month, it's always ideal from a financial accounting standpoint. You can oftentimes get away with not doing a stub period, which a stub period is essentially closing the books twice in a month, one for the pre-close of the transaction and one post-close for the month end afterwards. So that adds a number of accounting hurdles when you have to do that. But the most advantageous solution is to, if you can do this, but oftentimes you can't, is where you close the transaction at or near end month and you don't have a stub period. You often have to run this through your controllership team and your auditors to get to define that materiality and make sure that you're in alignment with their expectations. The second solution we came up with was to copy the system at the transaction date. This process was a little bit risky in our view because you're depending on a lot of things to go right on the day of the transaction, and there's not much prep work available for it. Besides the planning side, there's not much testing you can do with it. We thought it was a little bit risky, and it really didn't give us a full view of what we needed for tax purposes and other purposes. So this is just basically taking a copy and archiving it off. The third solution, which we thought was the most dynamic for our close and gave us the best opportunity to book adjustments through the closing process, because from a purchase accounting standpoint, you can book adjustments up to 1 year from the transaction close date. So what we did here is we utilized alternate servers, and we created alternate servers across the board for all of our financial accounting processes. So we did this in our accounting system, in our ERP, and in Planning Analytics. This gave us the ability to have a separate copy of the financials as of the closure date, and then we began journalizing in both systems. We journalized transactions ahead of the close in both systems, and transactions after the close in just the go-forward system. And just to clarify what I mean by that is any sort of transactions that were close related that came in after the close, we put into both systems, but we just, going forward after the June close, we continue to just operate in the one go-live system. If we turn the page, we can go through the dual environments that we created. So we went through and we laid out a list of processes impacted, and we worked with a number of team members cross-functionally to really understand the impact of our proposal. And so we identified our billing system, our general ledger, and planning analytics as our key systems that would have to be duplicated and with the dual environment process. Elliot will go through some of the accounting and IT considerations.
Yeah, so this was really such a team effort between the various departments. We need the IT team on board to be able to support us and to also work through the ERP dual server testing and the migration. And our first kind of step as we went through this process, we need to make sure that this data is good and it's validated, because you can copy data over from, a production server to an alternate server, but it needs to maintain consistent and it needs to be steady, and validating this daily was one of our tasks. So once we had kind of the pre-acquisition data validated, what we did then was work with the accounting team to make sure that everything that is being journalized in the alternate server is also being journalized in the production server, and that the two tie one for one as we move through the stub one close. So as we're going through stub one and we cut it off, that's when we kind of copy the stub one period from the alternate server into production as a stub one, and then begin booking entries for the entire month end. And the solution in Cognos was to do kind of like an A minus B equals C, where your full month less your stub one equals your stub two, so that like a 10-day period where you see the post-acquisition results for the month. So working through this, we just had to do continuous validation and really maintain open communications between the teams. So if someone sees something that looks off or raises a question or an issue, it's kind of all hands on deck to be able to work through the problems. And we held staggered meetings from beginning to end of this process with all the teams just to keep a pulse on it and make sure that we were moving in the right direction and no concerns are being raised.
Yeah, we had about five. We put together a list of all the critical steps, and then we identified the at-risk steps, and we held calls immediately after the close of those steps just to make sure the entire team was in communication and understood where we were with the copy process and the go live process. So I think that communication, that planning, that layout was really beneficial for us to execute and really hit the targets that we were committed to get the system up and running within 24 hours of the close.
Yeah, absolutely. And as well, we reached out to the field and sent them communications indicating here are the deliverables for your stub one close and here's the timing. And then here are the deliverables for your stub two or full month close as well as timing. It's hard enough to work through a quarter end close just in general, but kind of throwing two close processes on top of it, we really needed to communicate exactly what needed to be done by who and when in order to make sure that this went smoothly. And helping us with that, obviously, eCapital was an integral part and was just monumental in helping us plan out those steps in the system and what we needed to take. And Mitch can go into a bit more detail about the technical side of it and what they laid out for us, because I think another challenge we had was confidentiality. So this wasn't something that we could really share until it was very close to the deal actually being closed. So eCapital came in about, I think, 2 weeks ahead of time before the stub one period closed, and they were able to knock this out of the park for us.
Yeah. It was fun. It was a great time. No, it actually was a blast. I think this was something. It was a very unique solution that myself and Jim Bullis from eCapital we helped build. Where with Planning Analytics, the hardest part was now using an alternate server. How do we get these two servers to talk to each other then? So kind of some of the steps that we walked through was archiving off the pre-merger data. So the biggest thing, we had to migrate it all to this alternate server, but also we had to basically change the processes queries to hit a different system. So they were talking about those two systems with their general ledger and their billings. We had to change our processes to match, to go to those alternate servers that they're using for their billings and general ledgers. So just being able to communicate that, validating the data, and then creating a stub one and stub two. So the way that we treated that, to treat the stub one and stub two, so TM1 or Planning Analytics does not you can't create, if we're looking at June of 2017, you can't have elements under that. So we had to create alternate roll-ups to basically do those calculations to say, your stub one is basically just going to get loaded in from the alternate server, but then stub two, like Ellie was pointing out, it's that calculation of what is my 10-day period between the end of the full month and the 20th close. So being able to use alternate elements in the period dimension helped out a lot. The next one was redirecting all the data load processes to the alternate server. So the way we set this up was we would load the alternate server. We would load that first, and we would get all the data in there. We would load all the GL entities. And then what we would do is we would export it out of the alternate server, and we would export it into the production server, creating processes to load that alternate server data into that stub one period. So being able to keep track of, okay, what is my 20th, the 20th of June, what is the numbers there, and then what is my numbers for the full month. So separating those two, and that's why the period dimension was critical for creating this. And we talked about, loading the stub one trial balances to the alternate server, copying from the stub one to production, and then being able to still load the full month. So loading the full month wasn't too difficult because that's mostly stayed the same. We were able to, just keep the processes as normal. The hardest part was definitely getting all of, and I think that it is a testament to the Safeway team of being able to have IT, finance, accounting, have everybody all on the same page. Having that kind of coordination, especially to do a merger like this, is very difficult, and you have to dot your I's and cross your T's and make sure that everything is hitting it correctly and make sure all the data is validated. So that was definitely one of the biggest keys to utilizing the alternate server, and seeing it now, a year later, I think that was one of the best solutions that I've been able to build because of just the complexity behind it, and it was a true honor to be a part of it. So, and if Russell or Ellie, you guys want to add anything on top of that if I missed, but it was tremendous working with them.
Yeah, no, it was really, like I said, a team effort, and it went, very well considering the kind of shortened time frame that we did have. So it was an honor to work with you too, Mitch, so thanks for that. So it's great to hear. And then kind of, if you want to go to the next page too, we'll kind of go through post-transaction considerations. So with this new company, it didn't really make sense to view our results anymore in kind of our legacy company dimension. And we really wanted to turn our focus to the new company. And the new company is going to be designed differently since you have a different mix of branches combining, you have different markets that you want to focus on. So setting up a company structure that really captured this was going to be our next challenge. And what we were able to do is create an alternate company hierarchy while keeping our legacy hierarchy intact. So we can kind of toggle between how we would view it maybe from a legal standpoint for the legacy company and look at your pre-acquisition results and post-acquisition, but then also look at the new company structure with different regions, branches kind of moving around and making that dynamic. So we were able to do well with that and make that very dynamic for our company. We also created different versions as well to toggle between our pre-acquisition actuals and then pro forma merger results, and then kind of just a pro forma view, which acted more so like we had no business interruptions whatsoever, and results just went consistently on like the merger didn't even happen. So it was nice to be able to toggle between those, and that was something that Mitch helped us build out as well. And then also with the combined company, we needed to be able to review our KPIs in a more dynamic way, since we did have a lot of branch movement. And with that, we created cubes within Planning Analytics using SQL queries pulling from our ERP system. So what we were able to do with these is take millions of widgets and just push them into under 100 meaningful product groups as a summary so that we can actually review our most, profitable, the most activity within each product group and make better business decisions regarding our products and our price. And we use our earned rental rate and utilization by the product groups now much more dynamically than we were able to in the past, since it was more so of an Excel consolidation. And with revenue, we were able to now view revenue by customers, view the end markets, and get really into a deeper level of detail than we had been able to previously, and make it just so much more dynamic in terms of the reporting by regions. So Mitch, if you want to talk a little bit about the build on that in your part in it.
Absolutely. So just, the main portion of what I was on the technology side, I was building out a lot of the cubes and building out reporting cubes, being able to automate the SQL query, making sure that we can pull it in on a nightly basis so that we can see data right away. As Ellie alluded, they had it all in Excel, just these massive Excels with different tabs. Well, then we were able to create these cubes that just, they're storing all these elements for those calculations And just having that data down to the day for the fleet reporting has been crucial for them. And then for revenue, being able to do historical loads, restating if a customer switched markets, being able to track how is my performance for my markets, how is my disciplines doing, and being able to identify those has been really crucial to helping them make a lot better business decisions, having that data so they can speak to it and be able to make those decisions. So those were two very big wins, I would say, for the Safeway, brand Safeway team now with the KPIs, being able to provide that for them. So otherwise, I think, anything else you want to add, Ellie?
No, not on our end. I guess if we want to turn the page, if we have any questions from the teams on board here, we'd be happy to answer.
Yes, and I think I posted in the chat. Feel free to ask the questions in the chat, and I can definitely we can definitely ask them. So if you guys have any questions, please do let us know. All right. I don't believe we have any questions. If you guys do have any feedback or anything like that, feel free to visit us at eCapitalAdvisors.com if you want to reach out to me. I believe at my contact info, I can send that out to you. You can request that. If you have any questions, feel free to ask anything to us. But otherwise, we will give you back the rest of your day. And I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Thank you, Ellie and Russell, for presenting with us.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a great rest of your day.